Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Philip and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this amazing game of Crossy Road on Scratch. Now in this game, you can see that for the sheep we have some space here where it can move around before, see, like this. It has like a square type of thing. It has this area where it can move without the screen going down. And this game is basically infinite, so you can play for infinite. So yeah, there's also this very cool idea how we need to know when to create a clone of the car, of the street. So we will use this sprite that will act like a sensor, and basically that sensor, it will know when to create one of the streets, sorry. And basically each car has its own like speed and direction, and some cars stay still while some of them go really fast, some of them go very slow. And yeah, it's just a very cool game, and I hope you enjoy creating this game with me. So let's get started.
Click the create button, and the first thing we're going to do is get the sprite that's going to be crossing the road. So for me, that is going to be a sheep that I need to upload. So upload sprite, and here it is. First thing we're going to do is make it smaller. So I'm going to try like a 15, and that should be good. And next we want to center it first, because it's not really centered for me. So you can go back to the code, and now we will make it we'll make it move with the arrows. So when green flag clicked, forever if key, we'll start off with the up arrow. Then we wanted to do two things. First one is change Y by 10, or actually we'll do 5. And then we wanted to point in direction 0, so it points up. Let's duplicate that. You can do the down arrow, change Y by -5, and point in direction 180. Duplicate those. And this one's going to be the right arrow. So I wanted to change the X position by 5. And then the left arrow will be change X by, -5. And it will point, well, actually the right arrow will not point in 0, the right arrow will point in 90, and then the left arrow will point in -90. So let's test it, and we can see that it works. Next, we will want to just make the street. So for that, we will be making sprites that we will create clone of later on. So we want to paint a sprite, and we're just going to be making a rectangle, a gray rectangle, and I'm going to try something like that, and make sure it's centered. So yeah, it was centered. And next, we want to draw those white lines. So technically, usually they would be on the middle of the road, but we're only making one lane here, not more. So the trick is here that we have to draw those white lines on both sides, and then these sprites will appear right next to each other, and they will connect. So we have to pay attention for them to be aligned. So we will make some like rectangles here, white rectangles, and that's like a good size. Make sure there's no gray appearing above it, and then copy and paste it so that we can have the exact same one. And let's put it somewhere there. Let's keep bringing it down until we see gray above it, and there we go, we saw gray. So it was good this way. and then we'll just paste it because we already have the first one copied. Once you've got those, then we have to copy all of them and just put them on the other side. So a way to do this is hold shift while you select them, because we only want to select the white lines, and you select them, copy and paste them, and we will put them down here. Make sure you make these white lines thin because two of them will connect together. And also I went ahead and adjusted these and made them aligned. Next we will want to make another costume of grass. So we'll just draw a rectangle, a green rectangle, basically. So I'll do something like that. And that should be good. And make sure it is why do I keep making rectangles? Make sure it is centered. And next, let's go back to the code. Well, let's go to the code, and we'll just create a clone of itself when the game starts. So when green flag clicked, create clone of myself. Next, we will want to go to the shape code, and here, instead of going up, when the up arrow is pressed, we will just want it to stay still, and we will want every single object, like for example for now it's just the street we want it to go down. So we want to somehow tell the street and all the other sprites we're going to create to like go down. So for that we will need a broadcast, a message. So if here, instead of that change y by 5, we will just broadcast a message that we can call go down. And okay, and go to sprite 1, which is the street. So actually we'll name it street so we don't get confused. And basically when I receive go down, it will change y by -5. So let's test it, and we can see that when we go up, the street comes down. So that is good. Next, we will want to hide the original street and show the clone. So when I start as a clone, we will show. And then also when I start as a clone, we want to position it up there, somewhere up on the screen. So go to, and we'll just do x0 and y will be 200. Now I know 200 is over the limit, which is 180 for the y, but we only want to see a part of the street. So here, as you can see, if we do 200, you can only see part of the street like we wanted to. So that's good. And next, we will want the street, if it reaches like a point low over here, somewhere down here on the bottom of the screen, then we will just want it to like hide. So for that, we will need to make an if. So let's make an if, and in that if, it's basically going to be if y position is smaller than -180, then we will basically just delete this clone, sorry, because it's a clone because we created a clone. So let's test it, and we can go with the shape, and if it goes down there, then it deletes the clones. So all we can see is it hides, but it actually deletes the clone. Next, we will want to create multiple clones of the street. So we need to know when to create a street clone, sorry. So it won't be something like every 1 second or 2 or 3 or anything with time. No time, nothing to do with time. We will actually want to create another clone when this sheep goes up. So when it goes up, that means the streets come down, and we need a new street up on the top of the screen so that it keeps on going on and on forever. So one idea to do this is to just say something like, if like the last sprite, the last clone of the street's y is like less than a certain value, then it will just like create a clone and position it up there. So that does not work because we don't know what the last clone that got created is, which one it is. So the simpler way, and the way we're going to do it, is we're just going to be making a sprite that will act like something like a sensor, and if the street is not touching it, we'll position it up here on the top of the screen, and if the street is not touching it, then we'll want to create a clone of it. So it's paint, and we're just going to be making a square type of rectangle thing, and we're just going to go to the code and make sure to position it. So I don't know where it is right now because it's white. Whoops. Alright, so it's right here, and we're going to position it up there. And we're going to, when green flag clicked, forever, if not touching, so if not touching the street, then it will create a clone of it. Create a clone of street. So let's test it, and let's try to go up. So we can see that there are spaces between the streets. So let's try to position this sensor a bit higher. So let's make the Y position 180. Just make it higher. And let's test it. And oh, they're just a bit separate. Now another thing you can do is go to the costumes, select it, and then just move it up. And then test it, and we can see that those look like streets. Those are the streets. Next, we will go to the street code, and we'll make sometimes the grass to appear, because right now we have all streets. We want some grass too, right? So we'll make an if, and if we'll just do like a pick random from, so if a pick random from 1 to 5 equals 1, then we will put a grass, for example. Let's move these out of the way. So if that happens, then it will create clone of, actually it will change, sorry, it'll change costume. So switch costume 2, and let's see what the costumes are. Number 2 is grass, so it will change to costume 2. Now otherwise it would do the other thing. So instead of an if, we're going to do an if else. So if the pick random, switch costume to costume 2, otherwise just put it to costume 1, which is street. So let's test it, and I see there are gaps between the streets, and also the sheep is going behind the streets. So we're going to go to the sheep and just put a go to front layer block in the forever. Go to front layer. And let's go back to this guy, the sensor, and let's just move him up. So maybe that's good. And now that's happening because we moved the sensor too high, and it's off the screen. Same thing happening right now. So you gotta move him lower. And even lower. Come on. Now that should be good. Yeah, as you can see, that is good. You have the streets, and then we also see, first thing we see, well, let's hear. I saw it once. Here, we can see it. On one side of the grass, there are no white lines, and that is because here we have to make sure it goes to the back layer. So we'll just get this. So before it switches costume to costume 2, which I remember is the grass. Now I don't know why, but the original is shown, so let's hide that one too. And let's just get rid of this code because wait, here, let's leave it and I'll show you why. So here you can see that we have this line of green. That is, and there's also a street. And that is because, so here, when green flag clicked, it creates a clone of itself, and in the meantime, this also is not touching the street, so it creates a clone. Let's go to this and get rid of that. Now, let's test this game. And we can see the streets are coming, and then you can see there are white lines on both sides of the green. Next, we will want to make the car sprite, and basically I'm gonna upload it. So I have these cars that are all put together as one sprite. Now I am gonna get rid of some of them except one. So I'm gonna get rid of those two and rid of these two, and I have just this one car. So let's center that car. And next, we're going to go to the code and basically go to the street code actually, and whenever the street starts at a clone. So each street will have its own car. So when I start as a clone, then it will create a clone of, it's called cars, I believe. And well, also let's make this car smaller. So let's make it size, oh no, whoops, I meant this. Sorry. Let's go to cars. I was in the wrong sprite. Let's go to cars and let's make it 30-ish. Maybe, wait, not maybe. Bigger, 50. 50 should be good. And then let's go to the car sprite. And we're going to say, when I start as a clone, we're just going to want it to go to same position that the street starts at, so 0 with 200. And then we'll also want it to go down when the sheep broadcasts that message, so we want it to do this exact thing. So let's just duplicate it and put it in the car code as well. Next, let's test it, and well, first we gotta hide the original. Now let's test it, and we gotta also show the clone. So there you go, and they are a bit lower. They're too low. So that is because here you can see this car, it's not allowed to be positioned higher than 100 and 180. And so it gets positioned right here. So to change this, we're just going to go to the street and we're going to make it start at 180, and we'll make this guy start here at 180 as well. And we'll also go to the sensor and position him lower. Alright, and let's test it now, and we can see that it is good. Next, we want the card to move. So we want it to move, and we also want it to, if it hits one of the edges, then we want it to like appear on the other side. Now, the cars, they're gonna go either left or right, and they're also gonna have their own speed. So we want this car to go like faster than this other car, and this car slower than that other car. So we will need, for that, we will need a variable. We will call it speed for this sprite only, because each car will need its own speed. And then at the beginning, we will set speed to a pick random between, let's try -10 and 10. And then here we will just do a forever. It will change x by speed. And also, we're going to make those two, so we're also going to make if touching the edge, then appear on the other edge. So the first one will be if x position is smaller than negative 240. Sorry. If that happens, then it will go to. It will go to. Actually, it will just set its x to 240. Duplicate the if, and if it's greater than 240. So, no, sorry. Yeah, if it's greater than 240, then it will go to negative 240. So, let's test it, and we can see that it pretty much works. They're going with different speeds, and they are, if they hit an edge, then they do disappear. Now, also, they're gathering up here on the bottom, so that means they don't ever delete the clone. So here we're going to do that. And let's just see if that worked. Yeah, see, it deletes the clone. Alright, next we will do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to go to the street, and we only want to create clones if it's on the street, not on the grass. So here, we'll just take this and put it right here. So only if the costume is 1, which is the street, not the grass, then it will create a clone of the car. Alright, number 2, we're going to go to the car, and we're going to just say, because right now you might not be able to tell, but if the car is going, like, for example, that way, then it like goes backwards. You might not be able to tell because this car is hard to tell which one's the front and the back, but that's how it's doing. So actually, if you go to the street, the original is shown, so let's hide it. And then go to the car. So for that, we will just make an if. And whoopsies, don't put that in there. So if the speed variable is greater than 0, so if it's positive, then it will just turn 180 degrees. So it'll completely turn around. Turn 180 degrees. And the third and last thing, we will just do a change color effect that it looks like different cars are coming. So change color effect, and then we'll put a pick random from 0 to 100. Alright, and let's test it. So we have the cars turning in the right direction. No cars are on the grass. And the last thing we did, the color effect is different for all of them. Some are, well, not different for all of them, but they're not all the same color. That's what I mean. So that's good. Next, we want to just give the sheep a little bit of space to just dodge the cars. So basically we just wanted to give it a little space where it can go up without broadcasting that message, so then it can dodge the cars. So let's go to the sheep, and basically it's only going to broadcast this message if the y is greater than a certain value. So inside of this if, we'll put an if, and actually it's going to be an if else, because it will do something else if it doesn't broadcast. So if y position is greater than, I guess we'll just try negative 100, then broadcast go down. Otherwise, it will just change, it will just go up. So change y by 5. Alright, now let's test it, and you can see that it has this bit of space here where it doesn't broadcast, so it can dodge the cars, and then finally when it gets to this place, it does broadcast and everything goes up. Okay, next we are going to make sure that if the sheep hits the car, it says something and then the game stops. So for that, we'll make an if, and basically if touching car, the car sprite, which for me it's named cars. So if touching cars, then it will just say something else, like game over for 2 seconds. Well, obviously you can say anything, but I'm just going to say game over for, I'll say 2 seconds, and then stop all. And then we're going to be creating a score variable. So for all sprites, and at the beginning we want to set the score to 0, and then the score will basically increase by 1 every single time street creates a clone. So change score by 1. And yeah, we'll make the score a large readout, and then we're going to hide the speed variable. And we're actually going to do something pretty cool. We're going to put this score variable right over, if I can find where the sensor is, we're going to put the score right over the sensor so that we can't see it. So here you can see that you can't see the sensor because the score is right there. If you hit a car, it says game over, everything stops after 2 seconds. So that is good. Now just check out how the score is doing. It's increasing, I think, every time that a street is appearing. So that's good. Let's name this project. Obviously, its name is Crossy Road. And then, thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time for another game we can make on Scratch.